Absolutely fireproof. So they said. Built by Juan Avila, Colby Phipps, Christopher Jackson, Joshua Nolan, and Michael Holmes. Again, welcome to Absolutely Fireproof. Known as the deadliest building fire in United States history, but also known as the Iroquois Theater Fire, happened on December 30th, 1903. Location was 2428 West Randolph between State and Dearborn Street in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago was aiming to become the theater capital of the world, beating New York City at the time. The floor plan of the Iroquois Theater consisted of the main floor, also known as the orchestra floor, with the occupancy of 700. The second floor had an occupancy of 400, also known as the dress floor. And finally, the third floor had an occupancy of 500, also known as the gallery floor. The Iroquois Theater had a capacity of 602 personnel.
The construction of the Iroquois Theater was not without its sense of irony. The Great Chicago Fire, which had happened just 30 years prior, was still fresh in people's minds. Fire protection was the top priority in new construction, but the construction of the Iroquois fell behind schedule. It was targeted for November 23rd, a grand opening just in time for the 1903 theater season. Unfortunately for the Iroquois Theater, it opened being anything but absolutely fireproof. It was alleged that fire inspectors had been bribed with free tickets to overlook several code violations in order to open in time, which resulted in no fireproofing, no sprinkler systems, and no backstage alarm box or telephone. Even the asbestos curtain was not tested, and as it turned out, was made out of flammable material to cut costs. It was standard for the time in the event of emergency to have posted exit signs, much like they are today. The architect, however, found them distracting and left out this important safety feature, as well as exit rows that were illuminated. During the construction, the lead architect Benjamin Marshall was quoted saying that in the event of emergency, all 1,600 seats could be emptied in 5 minutes. Well, that was assuming that all planned 30 exits were constructed and fully functional. However, that day, the theater was filled beyond capacity. All 1,600 seats were sold out, and an additional 400 people packed in the corridors. It was even said that people took outside seat into the aisles. Due to the sheer number of people, it made the exit rows impassable. And to add insult to injury, the exit doors were bolted shut with accordion gates to prevent gate crashers, people moving from cheap seats to expensive seats. In addition, the fire escapes on the upper level were never fully constructed. The exit doors that did work were designed to open inward towards the auditorium. The problem with this type of door is that crowds tend to press against them, preventing them from opening. Lastly, the ventilation system that was designed to work was not fully completed. The smoke hatches that were on the roof were nailed shut.
At about 3:15 that afternoon, shortly after the beginning of the second act, 8 men and 8 women were performing in the pale moonlight. Sparks from an arc light ignited a mousseline curtain, probably as a result of an electrical short circuit. A stagehand tried to douse the fire with kill fire canisters provided, but it quickly spread to the fly gallery high above the stage. There, several thousand square feet of highly flammable painted canvas greenery flats were hung. The stage manager tried to lower the asbestos fire curtain, but it snagged. Early reports stated that it was stopped by a trolley wire that carried one of the acrobats across the stage. But later, investigations showed that the curtain had been blocked by a light reflector that stuck out underneath the partition arc. Eddie Foy, who was preparing to go on stage at the time, ran out in attempts to calm the crowd, first making sure that his young son was in the care of a stagehand. Foy was widely seen as a hero after the fire, and his courage in remaining on stage and pleading with patrons not to panic, even as large chunks of burning scenery landed around him. By this time, many of the patrons on all levels were quickly attempting to flee the theater. Some had found the fire exits hidden behind draperies on the north side of the building, but found that they could not be opened due to unfamiliar bascule locks. One door was opened either by brute force or by a blast of air, but most of the other doors could not be opened. Some patrons panicked, crushing and trampling others in a desperate attempt to escape the fire. Many were killed while trapped in dead ends or while trying to open what looked like doors with windows, but they were actually only windows.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Holmes and I'll be talking about the rescue portion of our group project. On December 30th, 1903, at about 3:15 p.m., a tragic fire broke out within a very congested and confined theater. Moments during the outbreak of this fire, a man rushed out about a block away to alarm Engine 13 of the Chicago Fire Department. They responded to the call, only to find out what was to come next within the next 1 to 2 hours. Due to the design flaws of modern construction of larger buildings back then, many of the exits, as stated earlier in this presentation, opened inward. To top it all off, the theater never held nor conducted the proper fire drills, and 200 people died in a hall due to the escape doors being locked. Others perished in the building because many of the exits were props and not true exits. Bodies were found stacked 10 high, and many patrons tried to climb over the corpses. However, they found themselves succumb to smoke and shortly died due to heavy inhalation. Chicago firefighters put out the fire in less than an hour, but couldn't prevent the huge death toll, which was twice the number of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871.
Aftermath. 571 people died the day the fire took place, with about 350 people being injured. About 30 people later died at the hospital, bringing the final death total of 602. Due to the fire, building and fire codes were improved to include that theater exits had to be clearly marked, and the exit doors must be modified so that they would be able to push outwards, allowing people to not be trapped by an inward swinging door. Multiple theaters in New York eliminated standing room only, and some European theaters set out to improve their fire safety. There was a large public outcry from the loss of life, and many were charged with crimes, most notably the mayor of Chicago and the theater owners. No one ever faced jail time because the defense lawyers pointed out loopholes and inadequacies in the city's building codes and safety ordinances to defend their clients.